Oscar goes to...
Like, it's incredible. My mom met my dad.
Hello and welcome to our special film show where we look at the 93rd Academy Awards and who and what won them. To take us through the highlights, critic Lisa Nesselson joins us by video link. Hi, Lisa. And here in the studio, film journalist Rhonda Richardson is with me. Hi, Rhonda.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's start with, of course, the film and the filmmaker of the evening, Chloé Zhao, who made Oscars history as the first Asian woman to pick up the night's biggest prizes, Best Director and Best Film for Nomadland. Let's take a look at a clip.
One of the things I love most about this life is that there's no final goodbye. I've met hundreds of people out here, and I don't ever say a final goodbye. Let's just say I'll see you down the road. And I do. I see them again. And I can be certain in my heart I'll see you again.
Now, Rhonda, Chloé Zhao's prizes might be a first, but this doesn't come as too much of a shock for those of us in the world of film because it was very well received on the festival circuit, Nomadland.
Yeah, it took the Golden Lion in Venice, and then it continued on throughout the season with another 40 wins to the Globes a few weeks ago, and so I think it was quite expected.
And what was so
deserved?
What was so compelling about the subject matter here?
She really sort of captured this slice of life that sort of encapsulates 2020 in some ways because it is a non-narrative film. It's very beautiful. It's very slow. It's very real. And there's a lot of people that have sort of said, this is an asterisk sort of year for the Oscars because some films weren't put in competition. But I think it captures what 2020 was, and it's this feeling of loss, unfortunately, and feeling of sort of just trying to hold on to something that's tentative. This was based on a book that came out in 2017 that was written about life after the crash in 2008. And it kind of reflects what's happening again 10 years later and really sort of captures that sense of loss that we've had in the United States and all over the world.
Indeed. Now, the Chinese filmmaker has made a name for herself in a very short time, she's just 39, for films that explore the darker corners of contemporary American life. Here's more from her at the ceremony.
I have always found goodness in the people I met everywhere I went in the world. So this is for anyone who has the faith and the courage to hold on to the goodness in themselves and to hold on to the goodness in each other, no matter how difficult it is to do that. And this is for you. You inspire me to keep going. Thank you.
Now, Lisa, Catherine Bigelow's the only other woman to have achieved the same thing, Best Director and Best Film in 2010 for The Hurt Locker. This is a pretty significant win.
Well, it gives journalists something to write and talk about that Chloé Zhao is the second woman to win Best Director and Best Film. Catherine Bigelow, by the way, dedicated her win for The Hurt Locker 11 years ago to the troops in Iraq and Afghanistan and wished them to be home safely soon. But I don't believe that gender has anything to do with excellence. And while others are understandably celebrating the doubling of that figure, all the sexist, xenophobic bigots out there must be very peeved that a woman who's an immigrant and from China has absolutely triumphed. Frances McDormand winning Best Actress for her role as a widow who takes to the road admits her to a very exclusive club of people with 3 acting Oscars: Walter Brennan, Ingrid Bergman, Jack Nicholson, Daniel Day-Lewis, and Meryl Streep. Only Katharine Hepburn ever won 4. And in her very short acceptance speech, McDormand told people to go to movie theaters and seek out the biggest screens they can find, and as soon as it's safe, sit side by side, shoulder to shoulder with other people to watch together.
Sage advice. Well, French talent was also recognised at the Oscars this year, with playwright Florian Zeller picking up Best Adapted Screenplay for the film The Father, a chilling study of age and the tricks the mind can play on us. Here's more from him on his choice of leading man.
We started the evening with an Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay, and we ended up with an Oscar for Best Actor for Anthony Hopkins. The desire to make this film is deeply entwined with my desire to make the film with him. By that I mean I wrote the screenplay for him, I had him in mind, and so it's pretty special for me to share this joy with him today.
So another record for the Oscar history books comes courtesy of Anthony Hopkins for his win as Best Actor. He's the oldest man to receive that prize. Lisa, were you equally impressed by his performance?
Oh, indeed, I was. We know that Hopkins, the actor, has all his marbles, but his command of mercurial layers of brooding and strutting and confusion is so convincing that I found myself worrying about the character a few days later. I had to remind myself that he didn't really exist. It's also kind of unnerving, but in a very good way, that this masterfully executed exploration of the space one inhabits versus the space in one's brain is Zeller's very first film as a director. It's a terrific pairing of talent.
Okay, well, Rhonda, there was some disappointment that Hopkins won over the late Chadwick Boseman, who was also nominated in that category. Every year, the Oscars are accused of lacking in diversity, something the Academy has pledged to try harder on. What sort of progress did you see in the selection this year?
Well, I think we can see the progress in just how many people were nominated. If we go back to about 2015 or 2016, when the Oscars So White campaign began, the Academy at that point was 92% white, 75% male, 75% of people lived in the Academy lived in Los Angeles, so it was a very insular, very small club. There were 6,000 members then. They've increased that by about 3,000 members, so they're slightly above 9,000 at this point. And in that time, they have invited several young, diverse actors, including Awkwafina, the Asian American comedian, Zendaya, the singer, actress, designer, 24 years old, quite young. So they're really working on not only the diversity, but also the age range for that. And I think that was reflected this year, especially in the acting categories with the different nominees that were not white.
Indeed, it does look a bit different this year. Now, this year the ceremony was also quite different due to the pandemic. Staged across various locations around Los Angeles, it resembled a movie set where nominees were allowed to take off their masks while on camera, but some replaced them as they walked back to their seats. A scaled-down spectacle then, but there were still a few fun moments. Lisa, what were your highlights?
Well, Harrison Ford, before announcing Best Editing, took a folded sheet of paper out and said he'd like to read some viewer comments after a sneak preview of a film he appeared in. They were all negative or insulting, complaining that the story was confusing and stupid. And then he said, deadpan, that film was Blade Runner, the importance of editing. All around great entertainer, Rita Moreno announcing Best Picture after brimming with false modesty, saying that 60 years ago this October, West Side Story came out and it went on to win 10 Oscars, including a supporting actress for her. This telecast was the first time the trailer has been shown for Steven Spielberg's remake of West Side Story, which was supposed to come out last year and is now slated for this coming December. There was the incredibly peculiar decision to put Best Picture before Best Actress and Best Actor. Usually the show leads up to Best Picture. One analyst has said that the clearest proof we have that the show's producers really have no idea who's going to win ahead of time is that they probably assumed actor would go to Boseman, and that would make a bittersweet finale to the show. Instead, we got a photo of Hopkins, and Olivia Colman had quipped on the red carpet that he should be in bed in Wales anyway, given his advanced age.
What about you, Rhonda? Any favorite moments?
Yeah, there were several that were really fun. I think Frances McDormand letting out a howl to the moon at the end of her speech was fantastic. Emerald Fennell also just her ebullient speech for her first screenplay from a very powerful film. And then, of course, we had Daniel Kaluuya, who decided to make a somewhat off-color remark about his parents meeting, and then the camera sort of cut to his mother, who was mortified by the mention of that. So it was really a really sweet moment for him.
A little bit awkward, but also some family fun. Let's relive that moment from British talent Daniel Kaluuya.
Like, it's incredible. My mum met my dad. They had sex. It's amazing. Like, do you understand? I'm here. You know what I mean? So I'm so happy to be alive. So I'm going to celebrate that tonight. Do you understand?
Now, another issue that's emerged in recent years is the lobbying power of the studios, with critics saying it results in an unfair playing field. This year, Netflix took home 7 trophies. Lisa, last year we heard that Warner Brothers were releasing all of their films for 2021 straight to streaming platforms without a theatrical release. What do you think that means for the world of cinema going forward?
Well, as Rhonda said, there are now over 9,300 members of the Academy eligible to vote. Interestingly, 22% of those are not Americans. But we don't know how many members do vote, and if those, how many made a point of actually seeing as many films as possible. The thing about platforms is that they don't offer much money except to attract big names. And that's why so few French companies gave up a theatrical release. There's a backlog of 400 films. A U.S. trade paper did a survey of ordinary people, and only 18% had even heard of Mank, which had the most nominations with 10 and did win 2 prizes, cinematography and production design. A lot changed this year, but one thing that remains constant is the way winners usually look shell-shocked when they glance down to see an Oscar in their hand, and it starts to sink in that it belongs to them. Humans and trophies, I'm told, tend to bond by the end of the evening, though.
Still as powerful as ever. Thank you very much for joining us, Lisa, and Rhonda as well. We'll wrap up the show with the track that took away the Academy Award for the Best Original Song. This is Fight For You from Judas and the Black Messiah, performed by the artist Her. Remember, you can get more movie news and more arts and culture on our website and our social media channels too. There's more news coming up on France 24 just after this.